Hello, my name is Evelyn. I'm 29 years old, and today I want to share a story that might catch many of you off guard. Before I dive into who I am, I need to explain what prompted me to talk about this very personal part of my life. The person who inspired me to do this is my grandfather. Yes, I know the title of the video hints at what I'm about to discuss, but please hold off on forming opinions until you've heard the whole story. I want to clarify every detail about what truly took place. Some of you might find this unexpected, but there are moments in life that lead us to question things we never thought we would. For me, one question kept popping into my mind. Does my grandfather still feel some sort of attraction if I provoke him? It may sound strange, but this question began to haunt me. At his age, does he still have that spark or desire we associate with younger people? Initially, it was just a passing curiosity, almost a silly thought. But as time passed, it turned into a silent challenge, a personal test I set for myself. What started as a lighthearted question evolved into an experience I never expected to have. I can guess that some of you might already have an idea of how this story will unfold, but trust me, it's more complicated than it appears. Each moment in this story carries its own weight and meaning, keeping you engaged until the very end. I promise that the conclusion will take you by surprise, so stay tuned as I share every detail of this experience, where even the smallest choices made a significant difference. With long, curly auburn hair cascading down to my shoulders and bright green eyes that sparkle, I stand 1.70 meters tall and weigh just over 60 kilos. My fit physique is a result of hours spent in the gym. I call Nashville my home, a city that holds my heart. I've always been someone who lives passionately and freely, embracing life with a bit of daring. Since I was young, I have cherished the thrill of a kiss and the joy of fully experiencing each moment. I live for intensity, giving myself wholeheartedly to experiences that make my heart race. When I look for fun, I seek out men who pique my curiosity, those who understand the dance of seduction and are eager to embark on adventures with me. I have no time for uncertainty. I want someone who is confident and knows how to navigate the moment, ready to push the boundaries of pleasure. The adrenaline rush surges through me, especially during moments of pure passion. There's nothing quite like the feeling of an electrifying kiss that awakens every part of me. In those instances, it feels like the world fades away, leaving only a deep connection between us that speaks louder than words. Living life to the fullest is my guiding principle. I'm always open to new experiences and thrilling encounters because life is too short to miss out on anything, especially those moments filled with pleasure and mystery. Each day, I chase the excitement of immersing myself in unique experiences, savoring every instant as if it's one of a kind. There's a liberating feeling in breaking free from routine and allowing myself to embrace the unexpected, with my heart and mind open to new possibilities. Amid all my adventures, I ended up marrying someone named Nathan. We were together for 8 years and had 2 children, Thomas and Leah. Those years were filled with intensity and unforgettable moments, creating memories and an everlasting bond through our kids. After the divorce, I made a decision to focus on myself and pursue an old dream, studying for a master's degree in Europe. I thought this was the perfect chance to reconnect with old friends and maybe even meet new people. While the primary focus was on my studies abroad, I started counting down the days until my trip to London, where I would spend 2 years diving deeper into my academic passions. With only a month left before my departure, I arranged for my children, Thomas and Leah, to stay with their father while I chased my dreams. As the trip approached, I decided to visit my paternal grandparents, who live on a farm out in the countryside. It's a peaceful place, far from the hustle and bustle of the city. When I arrived, they welcomed me with open arms and served me a delicious cup of colonial coffee, something I hadn't enjoyed in ages. My grandparents, Helen and Robert, are in their 70s, but you wouldn't know it by looking at them. They are in fantastic shape. It's fascinating how people who live in rural areas, like farms or ranches, often maintain robust health. I believe it's due to their simple and natural lifestyle, away from the stress of city living. My grandmother showered me with love, offering an array of tasty treats. We spent hours catching up, sharing laughter, and reminiscing about family stories. "I can't believe it, Evelyn. You split up," my grandmother said, her surprise evident. "He seemed like such a nice man." "Yes, Grandma, we didn't work out anymore, so I decided it was best to focus on myself, my studies, and my children," I replied, trying to convey my reasoning. "That's right, my granddaughter. You need to do what's best for you," she said with a tone of understanding only a grandmother can have. After a while, my grandfather excused himself to tend to the farm, leaving just me and my grandmother in the room. But not long after, she went to help him with some chores, and I was left to reflect on the moments we shared. That exchange of looks, that rising tension between us, felt like a daring game that made me feel more alive than ever. I wished for him to stay close, for that enchanting moment to never end. I longed to explore that spark of desire and curiosity that flared between us, pushing the boundaries of what was proper. As I continued to shower, oblivious to his presence, it felt as if time had frozen in that warm, steamy bathroom. The water cascaded down my skin, refreshing and invigorating. Meanwhile, my grandfather, James, remained there, his gaze unwavering, immersing me in a mix of fantasy and desire, as if I were lost in a vivid dream. When I finished my shower and wrapped myself in a towel, I could still sense his eyes on me, as if he could read my thoughts. The bathroom door was ajar, and the light from the hallway spilled in, casting playful shadows on the walls. Just then, I heard a familiar voice calling out, cutting through the charged atmosphere. It was my grandmother, Olivia, summoning my grandfather. "Oh, James, where are you? Come help me." Her call sounded like a relief, but it also felt like an interruption. A chill ran through me as I realized that the moment was slipping away. My grandfather hesitated for a moment, still gazing at me as if caught in a struggle. "Go check on Grandma. You'll have other chances to see me like this, Grandpa," I said, trying to break the spell. As soon as I uttered those words, I saw a flicker of joy in his eyes, but then he was abruptly distracted by my grandmother's voice and left quickly, as if he were a child trying to avoid getting caught in trouble. I couldn't help but chuckle to myself in the bathroom. Who would have thought a man his age could still feel such passion? The thought of him experiencing these emotions intrigued and thrilled me. It ignited a daring flame within me, making me eager to dive into something thrilling and potentially risky. A few hours later, we gathered for lunch. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and lively chatter, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my grandfather was still watching me. His gaze was full of admiration, and he kept showering me with compliments. "You've blossomed. You're such a beautiful and charming woman," he would say, his smile lighting up his face. I felt a twinge of embarrassment, but also a rush of pleasure at his words. To my surprise, my grandmother joined in, echoing his praises. As we finished our meal, sharing light conversations about everyday things, my grandmother suddenly let slip a line I had been anticipating, a perfect cue for what I was about to set in motion. It was as if fate had orchestrated this moment. "I'm going to take a nap for a bit. Are you coming, James?" my grandmother asked, her voice weary. I sensed that something was about to unfold, and my heart began to race. "I'll clean up a bit here, then I'll be right there." "You go ahead," my grandfather replied casually, but I could hear a hint of tension in his voice that made me shiver. Was it just me, or did he know what was about to happen? Without wasting a moment, I headed to the bathroom to brush my teeth, using it as an excuse to buy myself some time to gather my thoughts and plan every detail. The water felt warm and soothing on my skin, washing away my worries. I glanced at the mirror, practicing a playful smile. I was ready to test the waters, to explore this unexpected connection that had sparked between us. As I brushed my teeth, I imagined all the possibilities that lay ahead. I knew that everything could change in an instant, but I was prepared to embrace whatever came next. I was not just a granddaughter. I was a woman ready to ignite a flame of passion and adventure. With my heart racing and excitement building, I left the bathroom, determined to embrace this tantalizing moment and see where it would lead us. Once I was finished, I headed straight to my room, carefully picking out my outfit. I chose a simple black skirt that fit me just right, pairing it with a crisp white blouse. The contrast of the colors gave me a sense of empowerment. I knew it was a bold choice, but it was exactly what I wanted. I walked back into the kitchen, still fragrant with the aroma of fresh food, and there was James sitting at the table, seemingly waiting for me. The air felt thick, almost charged with an unspoken energy, as if something significant was about to unfold. He glanced my way, and in that moment, I sensed a mutual curiosity between us. "I'm going to take a walk around the farm to get a better feel for the place," I said, although my intentions were far deeper than mere exploration. There was a different kind of curiosity brewing within me, growing stronger by the moment. I was confident he would grasp the invitation hidden in my words. Each step I took made my heart race faster. As I left the house, I felt James's gaze on me, as if he were trying to decode my every move. The tension in the air was palpable, almost overwhelming. I made my way toward the forest near the house, my heartbeat quickening with every stride. An adrenaline rush coursed through my body, and something within me craved to provoke him, to challenge him, fully aware he wouldn't take his eyes off me. When I reached a certain distance, I couldn't resist the urge to turn around and face him. His eyes were locked onto mine, full of intensity. In a bold move, I slipped off one of my garments, never breaking eye contact, allowing him to take in every detail. I held the fabric aloft for a moment before letting it hang from a nearby tree branch, swaying gently in the wind. My body felt electrified, overwhelmed by the tension surrounding us. In an instant, he slammed the door shut and hurriedly grabbed a blanket from the clothesline before following me. I heard him cross the yard with firm, quick steps, determination radiating from him. The anticipation within me surged. There was no turning back, nor did I want to. The game had begun, and I was completely invested. I entered the forest, the sound of my footsteps crunching on the dry leaves echoing around me. Adrenaline consumed me, the heat of the moment making me tremble with excitement. I found a clearing, a flat grassy area where I shed any lingering fear. Leaning against a tree, I felt its rough texture against my back and the cool breeze brushing my skin. My body was on high alert, thrumming with energy. Then I saw him approaching, his gaze intense and urgent. With every step he took toward me, the air around us thickened, charged with desire. There was no room for words. The moment was poised to explode, and the intensity between us spoke volumes. He was right there, and I knew nothing could stop what was coming. His presence made me hold my breath as he closed the distance. "You took your time, James." "I didn't think you'd show up," I teased, a playful smile curling my lips. He looked at me, a mix of surprise and longing on his face, almost unable to believe I stood there, fully surrendered and ready for anything. But as our eyes locked, something shifted in him. I could see in his eyes that something was about to unfold. Without saying a word, he moved closer, almost in slow motion, heightening the anticipation. He spread out the blanket on the ground, creating a cozy spot as if setting the stage for an unforgettable experience. "I think you've got something hidden that wants to come out. Why not let it out all at once?" I said, my tone challenging, fully aware of what I was provoking. He responded with a knowing smile that gave everything away, beginning to loosen up and reveal what lay beneath his clothing. When it finally came to light, I was taken aback. Comparing it to Nathan's, it was almost twice the size, perhaps even more. A shiver of excitement mixed with nervousness coursed through me. "So, James, do you still know how to use it? Can you handle it?" I asked, feeling my breath quicken. His response was telling. It wasn't just that he knew how to wield it, he was prepared to show me exactly how. The atmosphere buzzed with adrenaline, and my heart raced, knowing the coming moments would be more intense than I had anticipated. Suddenly, he went silent, his gaze fixed on me, full of yearning and a hint of passion. There was a spark in his eyes that held me captive, a blend of surprise and excitement I couldn't ignore. He approached me slowly but firmly, sending shivers down my spine. When he stood right in front of me, my heart nearly leapt from my chest. Without a word, he pulled me close and kissed me deeply, the kind of kiss that made the world around us fade away. That moment was a whirlwind of emotions, his lips igniting something inside me. Before I knew it, we were lying on the blanket on the forest floor, surrounded by the scent of the trees and the distant sounds of nature. Everything conspired to make that moment unforgettable. We lay there, time becoming irrelevant, perhaps only 15 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. Our desire only intensified. We were on the brink, barely able to control what we felt. I could sense his muscles contracting with pleasure, and then, the moment we had both been waiting for arrived. The desire that pulsed between us erupted, and we surrendered to that moment completely, as if nothing else mattered. Eventually, we lay side by side on the blanket, breathless and exhausted, but with satisfied smiles on our faces. The relief and peace were indescribable, and it was then that we remembered something crucial. Leah was asleep back at home. The shock of that realization jolted us, and we hurried to get dressed. Our clothes were a bit wrinkled, and our hearts were still pounding. Without exchanging a word, we sprinted towards the house, quietly laughing at our foolishness. The adrenaline was still surging through us, but reality awaited. We had to mask everything that had just transpired. Upon arriving at my grandparents' house, I was surprised to see Grandma still awake. My heart raced, and my chest tightened as I braced myself to think quickly. Before I could even formulate a lie, she asked, as direct as ever, "Where were you?" My face flushed, and I struggled to come up with a plausible excuse. Fortunately, my grandfather, always composed and firm, stepped in with a decisive voice. "I was showing her the farm, Olivia." "Oh, and there's one more thing, our granddaughter Evelyn is staying here all week." My heart soared at this news, not from fear but from a mix of surprise and excitement. I locked eyes with my grandfather for a moment that felt longer than it should have. He remained silent, just waiting for my response. Inside, I was on fire, and without overthinking it, I nodded in agreement, as if it were the most natural thing to do. In that instant, my silence spoke volumes. The idea of spending only 2 days at the farm lost all significance. Why would I want to leave so soon? There was something palpable in the air, something powerful that held me in place, and I found myself reluctant to resist the feeling of embarking on a forbidden, thrilling experience. I was drawn down a path from which there was no return, and the thought of spending an entire week with him filled me with eager anticipation. The prospect of leaving and returning to normalcy seemed absurd. My grandparents' house and the farm, with its serene silence and the earthy scent of rain-soaked soil, wrapped everything in an enchanting atmosphere. Time felt as though it slowed down, intensifying every second spent at my grandfather's side, creating a growing tension. I no longer cared about the brief 2-day visit. What had begun as a simple family gathering had transformed into something far more significant. It felt as if the choice to extend my stay was not solely mine. It was as though some greater force was drawing me into this whirlwind of desire, excitement, and danger. I was uncertain of what awaited me in the coming days, but one thing was clear: I wasn't leaving anytime soon. The fire ignited within me wouldn't easily be extinguished, and I was more than willing to let it blaze to its conclusion. I wouldn't shy away from it, especially when every fiber of my being was urging me to keep going. This was the beginning of an unexpected adventure, one I had never envisioned, and I was determined not to let it end prematurely.